but he should know.
He should. And if he's not sure, he usually asks.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
Yo, right there, Grandpa? What the fuck?
It's my back. It's my back. And I'm a grandma, thank you very much.
I know. All right, bud.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the BREWDCAST. Who knew? I am, as always, Bud Robinson, and joining me... Well, that's good. Leon didn't.
Oh, no.
I didn't even try to set him up for that. Joining me tonight is the prestigious town historian. How are you doing, town?
I'm prestigious.
You are.
I guess that's good. That's new.
And venerable. Like yeah.
The prestigious, venerable town drunk, Esquire the Third.
Vintage. So I don't remember what we're talking about. I wish I would have just, played it off like, "Hey, town, what are we talking about?" But then I opened my mouth and said that I forgot.
I think tonight we're just gonna have a conversation about what the F is going on. What the F? Wow. Okay, what the F is going on in the world of professional wrestling and how shit's changed here in the past 3 weeks. Like, incredibly so.
Yeah. So the last podcast that we released was Friday, and that was out of date. And that was, I think we recorded that 2 weeks ago. So yeah, a lot has changed. WWE is not shit anymore, I'm told. I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't say they're not shit. I would say they're moving in the right direction. I think that's more appropriate.
Yeah.
Their storylines make sense, and they're actually starting to push people.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that I'm noticing, and I'm not going to sit here and claim like I'm watching everything because I'm not. I'm seeing bits and pieces, and that's just the way it's going to be for now because they've ruined it with me.
Yeah.
So they have to earn me back. Orange. I think that Triple H is bringing back everybody back that got fired.
Yeah.
Karrion Kross came back.
I was gonna. That surprised me.
It didn't surprise me because look at what they did with him in NXT. It's how do you miss on that when you in NXT he was so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's change everything about him, pal. Let's do this. It's just what the fuck. So I think we're giving Triple H a lot of credit for being functional. Because that's just basic functions.
That is a great way to put it because we have been conditioned by, you say this all the time, we have been conditioned by WWE to expect a certain kind of product. And when we stop getting that product and start getting something that resembles more closely wrestling, we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Triple H is doing amazing things, but this is stuff that AEW is already doing, ROH is already doing, Impact is already doing.
It's really interesting to see the people online, the basic fans that comment on the Instagram stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love to read Instagram comments and Facebook comments. I don't participate in them because cesspool city. But all the WWE fans are like, "Oh, we're so much better now. We're this, we're that," and all those. All those guys in AEW, well, they're going to leave now. They're going to come back to WWE. I'm like, no. Yeah. That's probably not going to happen. Moxley's not going back.
No.
And, Adam Cole and the ones I keep hearing about are Adam Cole, Andrade, and Miro. They're all being wasted in AEW. They should go back to WWE. And I'm just okay, no, time out. Miro was hurt.
Uh-huh.
When they actually use Miro, I like what they're doing with Miro. I also get the vibe from Miro, if you listen to him talk, he's got other things he wants to do than wrestling. So
yeah. But like Miro's character in AEW is amazing, and they're doing. I mean, if you want to say, well, he doesn't have a title, so therefore they're not doing anything with him. Fine, but that's a stupid metric. Like that's. I think that's the one thing that I've learned from AEW and NJPW to some extent is that like WWE built this hierarchy that if you're on SmackDown, bottom of like if you're a curtain jerker on SmackDown, you're the lowest of the low. But like if you're opening, if you're on the opening match on Rampage, which Rampage is their, I guess their like B show, but I don't like even see it that way because their matches, like how many times has Danielson opened Rampage? At least once. And like it's the WWE has this hierarchy. And AEW, and I'm sure other companies do this, NJPW does this. Like, it's not about the position on the card. It's not about whether you have a title or not. It's about how much time you are given to produce quality matches and quality storylines.
I think that goes back, though, to the fact that in 1997, when they started to get hot, they had a formula, and they haven't changed it since.
Yeah, I know that's true.
You know, you open with a segment, you get the crowd hot, you go to a match, simple match, kind of a match to cool off the crowd. So that I think is. But Miro, I think I don't think Miro's ever going back.
No.
People are convinced Moxley's going back, and it's just there's no way he's going back. There's no way because he's doing way too much fun. Adam Cole was hurt. I honestly think Adam Cole's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Because he gets to do whatever the hell he wants. And then Andrade. Andrade's a really good worker. And I respect that. But there is something about him that does not click for me. And I don't know what it is. And he didn't click in WWE for me either. There's just like the it factor's not there. Like the dude is amazing. The dude has a really good character. The dude is amazing on the mic. There's nothing bad about him. It's just like he seems to be a step below, and for some reason, than everybody else.
Yeah, I guess I see that too. I think that they're working on him. I think it's ironic that you said Miro, Moxley, and Andrade because I think those three in part, maybe not Andrade so much, but the other two in particular have had a lot of words about working for WWE. Moxley literally wrote a book on it. And so, like, how are you going to tell... Like, if someone were to tell me that, I don't know, Danielson was going to go back, yeah, maybe. It's possible, because he has history there. He has history with Triple H. Even CM Punk, I could see him come back.
Oh, my God, no fucking way. Him and Triple H hate each other.
That is true.
There's no way. Punk's never going back. Punk's dug into the ground. He's never going back. He's never going to go back for a Hall of Fame thing. He's just not going to do it. And I think that's the right call. And Danielson, I think Danielson's in his last run.
Could be. Yeah.
I think he's just kind of like, I'm gonna go for a couple more years and be done. Which kind of goes, I think, to my next point of like AEW right now has to be super cautious with what they're doing. Because WWE got hot. And they're not even hot. Like, let's not even call them hot. Let's call them functional. They're a functional wrestling promotion that has a little bit of an idea of what they're trying to do. And if I'm AEW, I can't respond because everybody around is now, it's gloom and doom.
Yeah.
Well, AEW's in decline, AEW's this, and I just don't think that's the case. I think if they're smart about what they do, and they start focusing on some of these other guys, you know, they need to start making some stars.
Yes.
They need to start getting some of these other guys on TV. You know, they've got to kind of push back the old, like Dustin Rhodes hasn't been on TV. Great. Don't put him on TV unless he's on Ramp. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because he's not as hot as he was.
and he's 55.
Yeah.
It's time to. There's a group of guys they have there that are so. If I look ahead and if I look like 10 years down the road, like the names in the business to me that are going to be huge are Jungle Boy, MJF, Darby Allin if he doesn't die, Sammy Guevara, Braun Breaker.
You forgot Ricky Starks.
Stark's not there.
Yeah, I think he's getting there though.
I think I'm not including him in that. You can argue with me, but I'm not going to include him.
Yeah, but
let's just say those are the 5 guys.
I get you. Yeah,
like those are the 5 guys that are really being groomed. Okay, there's a problem for WWE. Only one of those guys is their guy.
Yeah,
and they have Braun Breaker, and I don't know what his ceiling is, and I don't know what his limitations are. The dude's an incredible worker for how young he is, and he's got an incredible look. And he can kind of cut a promo, so like all of that's there. But what do you like? You don't have. There's nobody in NXT right now.
Well,
that looks like a surefire.
Yeah. There are folks in there. I think that, given some time and some effort,
could be good.
Could be good. Yeah.
But there's no like that's a world like Braun Breaker's gonna sell some seats.
Yeah.
Jungle Boy's gonna sell some seats. MJF clearly now if they steal MJF. Yeah. That's a whole other thing with him.
Even then, I think you're right. I think WWE is functional, and I think as long as WWE stays in their lane and AEW more importantly AEW stays in their lane. That is one thing that does concern me is that there is this mentality, or there was this mentality when Vince was in charge, that we have to run out the competition. And so if Triple H is being pressured to think that way and he sees AEW as competition, are they going to try and do that? Like, and to your point, as long as AEW stays in their lane, they would be fine, I think. But like there's still that possibility there.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think right now they need to focus on what they have. And they need to just focus on some of these guys that they're trying to, like signing Harlan. Or no, it was his name. It was Harlan. Now it's what the fuck is that guy's name? The guy that looks like Brock Lesnar.
Oh, Bordeaux.
Parker Bordeaux.
Parker Bordeaux. Oh my god, that guy is fucking huge.
Vince fired him in 2 months. They didn't think he was doing anything. They fired him. He comes in there and it's like that's gonna end though. That's gonna end because Triple H isn't gonna do that.
No,
he's not gonna look at a guy who's like, "Holy shit, this guy's pretty good," and be like, "Get out of here! You're just not progressing fast enough."
No,
but I think Vince really had the idea of he was only showing town; he could do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's very true.
But like that whole thing with him, like there's a guy that, sign him too. And I do whatever I had to do. Give him a mouthpiece, which I did with Daivari. Find something for him to do, make him look strong, build him up. There's another guy. Do I think he's going to be a super mega player there? He could be.
Yeah. I'm
not necessarily going to bank on that.
Yeah.
He's not like when Brock Lesnar came in the ring and you saw Brock Lesnar, you were like, holy fuck.
Right.
That's something. And we'll see what happens with him.
And I think that's the interesting thing that AEW is doing with big guys as opposed to WWE. Like WWE, all their guys are big, right? But when you get a huge guy like Brock Lesnar, he's a spectacle. And that's like they banked on that. They banked on him being a spectacle. Or you have a big show, or you have even like Kane or Undertaker is kind of the same thing.
Don't you think that's the way to do it though?
I don't, because then you have one big guy fighting all smaller guys, and then you're like, there's no way this guy is going to lose. Whereas the AEW, I think what they're doing is they're building up this larger roster of big guys like Hobbs, Wardlow.
Let's go. Yeah,
Bordeaux.
That I like.
Yeah,
that I like. But let's talk about that once, because let's look at Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Andre the Giant just wasn't another guy. He was a fucking spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Which, granted, he was so big. You wouldn't want to book him as a spectacle. Because I would book him as a spectator.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they had Andre, for example. They had Andre, and they didn't have anybody else who you would look at and automatically say he could go toe to toe with Andre. Now back then it was a little different, but like if you look at the Big Show, it's kind of the same thing. And then they wound up fucking up the Big Show anyway. But like,
if you watch the end of Andre's career, Leon's not here to defend him, but if you watch the end of Andre's career when they put him on TV every week and he was just another guy, it was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty bad. And I think that's what you do with a guy like that. I like Harlan, Parker Bordeaux, whatever the hell we're doing. He was Harlan in NXT.
Fair.
But Parker Bordeaux is, I think that's a good signing.
Yes, absolutely.
I think this feels so rambling to me right now because I have so many ideas running through my head.
It's okay.
Another really big issue.
Another BREWDCAST
for WWE right now is this. Every week you turn on Raw or SmackDown, and Triple H is bringing somebody back.
Yeah.
That's going to dry up, and then what happens? Because this is the same problem AEW had.
Mm-hmm.
You kept bringing somebody in, and suddenly there's nobody to bring in, and suddenly you're bringing in, well, that guy's a snuffer, like Homicide. Love Homicide. Oh my God, it's Homicide. And half the people are like, who the fuck is Homicide? No one cared. So like that's going to be another problem. Granted, you still have Bray Wyatt, which I think is coming. I do.
I think so. Yeah.
And I
Why
think,
wouldn't they?
Oh, it's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And as much as there was a period of time where I really wanted him in AEW, and then I kind of look around and I go, not so much.
He doesn't really fit, like. Yes, he's got the whole like I guess more cinematic match sort of a thing, but like we're already getting almost the exact same thing with House of Black, right? Yeah. And they already tried to do that sort of thing, like two dark entities like clashing with them and Death Triangle, and it just sort of got muddy. And so it doesn't.
I'm not the biggest fan of Death Triangle. I love those guys, but the stable itself has kind of been. It always just felt second tier to me.
Yeah.
It's like they don't get the push they need. They don't get what they need.
Yeah. They sort of. I think my problem with them is that Pac, I think, is an all-rounder. I think he can do most things pretty well, and like he's a great high flyer. He's pretty good on the mic, but those other guys.
Keep on him, pal. Make a Mighty Mouse. That's what Vince wanted to fucking do, and all the kids are like, "Who the fuck is Mighty Mouse?" Because Mighty Mouse hasn't been relevant since 1947. Keep going.
Which is why he did it, or wanted to do it. But I think the other two are just they're not really there, and I think when they were facing, oh God, who were they facing? Was it the Bucks or was it FTR? I think it was FTR. Like they were on fire. And then they strayed away from FTR and kind of haven't done very much.
It was the Bucks.
Was it the Bucks? Okay.
When they won the tag belts from the Bucks in the match, that was like one of the greatest cage matches I've ever seen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then their tag title reign was just not good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't memorable. And then they just randomly lost the belts to Jungle Express on a random episode of Dynamite.
Yeah.
So
I love them in the ring. I hope to see more shit with the trios title. That would be cool, but I don't think that's happening. I think they're going to set it up so that it's the Bucks and Omega probably.
Oh God, yeah.
And then
oh God, yeah. Then they're going to have a feud with the whatever they're going to call them, Cole and Red Dragon.
Undisputed. Butts. They probably can't say undisputed because that's a WWE thing. Or maybe Triple H doesn't care. Maybe they're not holding on to those licenses. They probably are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. I think it's an exciting time in wrestling because I think if WWE is even remotely functional,
mm-hmm.
which they are,
yeah.
But like I said, like we're real early in the game, and things look good, but that doesn't mean things are going to stay good. We don't know what's going to happen. And AEW has a lot more consistency with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I think if they remain consistent.
What this business needs right now is they need an angle that just kind of jumps out and like takes over and becomes mainstream. Because we have nothing. We haven't had anything in a long time. We had Hogan in '95 with the NWO.
Mm-hmm.
We had Austin in '98 with Mike Tyson. And The Rock, but that really kind of was all the same thing. And since then, we've had nothing.
Punk was pretty mainstream.
Close. He was close.
Yeah.
But that didn't lead to a new era of the business changing, and that partially is the fact that they booked him like shit.
Yeah.
So like they snuffed that one out, but we need that moment of, oh shit, that was insane. Here it is, and I thought we were close when Danielson and Cole showed up on the same night, and that was like 3 weeks after Punk showed up. So like that was a moment where it was like, oh shit, maybe we're onto something.
Mm-hmm.
But none of those guys have managed to. And then MJF too, I think, is another one that promo he cut. But there's been nothing since. So I don't know what they're. The part of me thinks that they probably worked out some kind of agreement or deal before they let him go out on Rampage or Dynamite, I should say. And then they're giving him some time off, and they're kind of letting that thing fester. And then out of nowhere, he's going to come back. Because if you claim to be disgruntled and get in trouble and then show up 2 weeks later, everybody sees through it.
Yeah,
that was the problem. That was the problem with CM Punk when he took the title and left. It was back a week later.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, "Well, that's stupid." It would have had much more effect if Cena would have got a little bit of a reign, and then he would have come back at like Survivor Series and been like, "Hey, fucker, here I am." You know, like that would have been a lot more effective. So that could be what they're doing. The state of the business is actually pretty good. Like, it's good.
It's kind of, I mean, I dare to say it's even amazing. I think that the guys who were held back in WWE are now getting their time on TV in AEW, which they would not have gotten, 5 years ago.
It's interesting because a lot of the guys that are kind of on both shows that are starting to get momentum and starting to get a little bit of a push are those indie guys that Vince McMahon thought could never ever do anything.
Yeah,
like Ciampa, like there he is.
That's true.
And then on AEW you have Omega, for instance, and you have Bryan Danielson, and you have guys like that, Kenny Omega, guys they're indie guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like indie guys have kind of taken over, and the guys that are overly pre-produced by the WWE system are just kind of there. Like they're the ones where like that guy sucks, like Baron Corbin.
Oh God, Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin's not bad.
Yeah,
he's your typical like. You could plunk him down in 1991 as a mid-level heel, and you'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's all he is. He's just that generic WWE heel.
Yeah.
That can get some heat, but has no real, like, he'll never be anything more than what he is. But kudos to him, because he's carved out a spot. He's done some shit,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
They have Roman Reigns, who has they decimated their roster for him. Yeah, we've talked about that before. They've decimated that roster for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they get the belt. I think they're going to separate those belts. I think they're going to get the belts off of them. I think they have to.
Yeah. But the question still remains, like, who do you give it to? I think Drew McIntyre makes a lot of sense.
I think Drew McIntyre is winning at that England, and that would be, like, I would do that. That's a gimme.
Yeah.
Maybe only put one belt on the line and then have McIntyre go to Raw with it, and then Roman can have a feud with Karrion Kross, which I think would be great.
I read somewhere that he's supposed to be, they're grooming Karrion Kross to be the number 2 heel behind Roman Reigns. So I don't know that they would do that. What would be interesting is if they did that, but then they got rid of, like, Roman Reigns disappeared for a while. And people were like, what happened to Roman Reigns? And then bring him back in a few months.
maybe they make that match a triple threat, two fall match, both belts on the line. You know, the Universal and the World.
Yeah.
Have Karrion win one, have McIntyre win one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
That feels cheap somehow, but just to get those, and then Roman doesn't even have to get pinned.
Yeah.
Which, you know, but I don't know how much are they going to protect Roman now.
I don't know that they can anymore because you wind up. If Brock isn't going to come back, like who do you put him up against? They've made him look invincible.
If all was right in the world,
which it's not.
Orange Cassidy would walk into WWE and beat Reigns in 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Orange punch. Get handed the belts, go whatever, set him down, and walk out the door. That's an interpromotional match I want, and I want it to go just like that.
Oh God, I would love it. I would love that.
Sleeves. There though, touching on that is another something that I'm really pleased with AEW and really upset with them at the same time is the use of Orange Cassidy right now is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
They're starting to get, like, he's got it, and he's got something. And if they just kind of, like, he lost to Jay Lethal the other week, which I thought was stupid, but I understand what they were doing. If you just get behind him a little bit, the pops that man gets. The guy we went to high school with, who's a year older than us, went to Dynamite.
Okay.
And the Rampage tapings. And I was talking to him. And we play 7 Days to Die once in a while. So he's that kind of guy. I love 7 Days to Die.
Yes.
But I was talking to him. I was like, how was it? He's like, oh, it's fucking awesome. Blah, blah, blah. You got to go. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, who got the biggest pop? Because I'm thinking, like, fucking CM Punk came back.
Oh my God.
He's like the biggest pop of the night was when Orange Cassidy came out. And I'm just like,
that's a shock. That is shocking.
Like, it is and it isn't, because AEW is different and there's a different fan base. I think that's really important right now too, and that's one thing that both these companies have to remember. WWE isn't going to pull those AEW fans, and AEW isn't going to pull a lot of those WWE fans because they have different wants, what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But if I'm an AEW guy and I'm looking at the way it's going, does Orange Cassidy need to get a huge push to be successful? No, because it doesn't matter, because he'll be successful either way. Like, the crowd's going to get behind him.
Yeah. He's
selling merchandise, but holy fuck, if you strapped a rocket to him, you know, and it would be really, like, I think about that, because, like, in my fantasy booking head, I'm like, if you pushed him to the world title and you made him world champion, okay, which is ridiculous, in a way, when you've got Danielson and Punk and Cole and all these fucking guys, okay? But then I watched him fight at Forbidden Door, and I'm like, well, like, maybe it wouldn't be ridiculous if that guy was the champion, because he's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
So, like, you have this incredible character that's unique, that has all this fan buy-in. Let him go. Just push him and let him go. Like, what could you do? Like, and I'm curious about that. And it's not just because I'm an Orange Cassidy mark. It's because I'm smart enough to look at that whole product and go, what sticks out? I love CM Punk, but I've seen CM Punk before. And I love Bryan Danielson, but I've seen him before. And we saw what Omega did. And we saw what Hangman did. And Jungle Boy's not ready. And Darby Allin's not quite there. What do we have that could be like a homegrown thing that we can say, that's our fucking guy? Let's go on a run. And I keep it. It's like,
it's OC.
Cassidy. It's fucking Orange Cassidy. Will they do it?
I think they will. So. I don't know if they'll do it soon, but I think they'll do it. Here's why I think they'll do it. They keep setting him up against, like, every opponent who talks about Orange Cassidy, whether they're going to face him or one of their friends is going to face them or whatever. Like, they just rag on him. It doesn't matter if it's Bryan Danielson, CM Punk. I don't think Punk has ever said anything about Orange Cassidy, but it's always like, it's this guy who's lazy and gives a lazy thumbs up, and, like, they're always giving him shit. So, like, you have the capability to take Orange Cassidy and literally put him up against anybody, because he has this he has this charisma that is, this lazy guy. Nobody wants to see me here, but I'm here anyway. I don't care, whatever. And so he can, and like you said, Forbidden Door, we saw that he can go. Like, if he can go against Will Ospreay, he can go against anybody. Like, Ospreay is amazing.
Yeah, and he's having good matches with everybody. I just look at him and I think if there was a guy right now that you'd have to be a slow build and would have to be very smart, but I just keep looking at it and I go, man, that's... And again, I am an Orange Cassidy mark. I think he's amazing. But at first I thought the character was cool, and then I started to watch the guy wrestle. Then I was like, holy fuck, is this guy amazing?
Yeah, he is.
So it's not just like the comedy piece is pretty blatantly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But like just the way he interacts with the crowd, the response he's able to get is just, it's fucking amazing.
I loved that Davari spot.
While things with him are amazing, then I go to the opposite side of that coin. I go to Danhausen.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the fuck they're doing with Danhausen. And I have on here before ragged on Danhausen because Danhausen is not Orange Cassidy. And he's not the worker that Orange Cassidy is. And his character, I think their characters are pretty even. Danhausen is an amazing character. They have to find something for him to do that's functional. They can't just keep, because they're gonna box him in a corner where he's just a stupid, funny guy that doesn't do anything, and they're getting really close to that. You know.
Yeah.
And you sent me a message where you wanted him to form a stable or something like that. Maybe that's what he needs to do. Maybe he needs something like that. But they have to find a way to get him. That fucker needs a live mic on TV. Like that's what he needs.
Yeah, he does.
And then I look at some of the guys that get ample amounts of TV time, and it's kind of like, nah, what do you get? Like, no offense to what's his face? Oh my god, the two guys with the tall guy from ROH. That I forgot his name. I can't believe I forgot his name. Having one of those days.
I'm not
Black
sure.
Machismo. Black Machismo.
Oh, Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know who they are, and I don't know. I just could not remember his name now.
It's fair.
Like they're fine.
Yeah.
But why are they getting all this TV time every week? Because I'd rather watch Danhausen. Just straight up.
It's fair.
Straight up.
Yeah, it's a fair
like,
criticism.
I understand what they're trying to do with those three. And I understand that they're clearly building Satnam Singh to be this huge, important guy. Okay, but I've seen enough tall guys to know that and they're smart. They're not just going to throw him out there, because if you just throw him out there, he's gonna sink. Which part of me thinks we need an ROH show. Like, they need an ROH show.
Yeah,
they got to find somewhere to put it, and they got to have it be. They got to get some of these guys in ROH, and then those three I think are some of them. You know, so like we're getting a ton of them every week. They're getting at least 3 to 5 minutes of promo time every week. Why?
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Like, they're not bad. Like, I'm not trying to.
They often say the same thing before every match. So, like, why are you giving them that extra time when you could be giving that time to someone else, like Danhausen? Or, comparatively, why are you not giving equal time to Danhausen, who arguably is better on the mic, who has a better character, who could do better segments than or at least more interesting segments than what those guys are doing.
He's such an untapped piece of potential that they're just kind of sitting on, and I get that he was hurt, and I get that they're trying to take it slow, and I don't think they know what to do with him. I think that's part of the problem. But they have to do something, because otherwise it's just going to be one of those things where you go, well, he's useless. And that would
remember that guy. A lot of the stuff we're talking about, I'm kind of thinking that, like, maybe AEW is just playing the long game, and maybe they're like doing a very slow build with Danhausen.
They do.
Yeah, they're better with that.
They did that with Orange Cassidy too. His arc, but now with him, it's kind of the point where, okay, we gotta do something now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
And do you know what I watched the other day randomly on accident? I watched the Halloween episode of Dynamite from a couple years ago, where the elite they were the super elite or whatever, and they came out as the Ghostbusters, and they fought the Dark Order, where Johnny Hungy was Bambi, which still just fucking cracks me up. And Evil Uno was a cowboy, but he still had his mask on. And I watched that, and they did the thing where Hangman took off the Stay Puft Marshmallow Head and fucking beat up. And that response to that crowd was fucking nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know how to build shit. They know how to make angles work.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me even sadder that Adam Cole's title reign was such a fucking turd. You know? Because, my God, they had him right where he needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right where he needed to be. But they do really well with the builds. And the slow build.
Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Which is what we're seeing with Jungle Boy. I think something bad's going to happen with Luchasaurus in that one, though. I think Luchasaurus clearly is going to turn on Jungle Boy.
Yeah. And I don't know what else you do. Like, he switched way too quickly. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It seems like I can see the puppet strings. And maybe they'll swerve us. But
I think you can. I don't think you can. But that one, I'm interested in that, though. Yeah. Like, I'm interested in that. The other thing that I'm really interested that they're doing right now is the Ass Boys.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking... That dumpster match, I loved that dumpster match. I loved it, and the ending was something else.
Yeah.
They got thrown off the stage and whatever. But
they're okay.
The situation they have going on with Billy Gunn of... This is why I miss the... You know,
the Acclaimed. Yeah, he keeps bringing up the Acclaimed. I love that. Because I legitimately thought it was going to be, we have the moment where this team is going to split, and Billy Ass goes with the Acclaimed. I thought it was just going to be all at once, and they didn't do that, which I think is so smart. Like, they're taking their time to, like...
Tell the story.
They're milking that breakup. They're telling the story more thoroughly than they would have, than WWE would have, for sure. Like,
I don't wonder if the Ass Boys are going to turn on Billy. I love how we're just calling them Billy Ass and the Ass Boys. They don't even care.
That's their last name.
Common vernacular. I don't wonder if they're going to join what's his face. The guy was Jade, the manager guy.
They could. I mean, I hope they don't. I like what Stokely is doing with Jade and the baddies. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think he's building like an empire.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. I think the more he has, I think that...
Yeah, Stokely is amazing.
I think that having a stable is an idea that's been so... Like, managers don't have stables anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now he's trying to form it, which I think is fucking sweet, because it's like 1987. When Jimmy Hart had all those guys.
Yeah.
And Bobby Heenan had the Heenan family.
Yeah.
You know, like that, I think that's a good idea.
And they're not in each other's business. It's just like that guy, like that manager just goes out with Jade, he goes out with
and if they need to work together, they can work together type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. That Ass Boys thing has me intrigued, and it's really strange because it seems like such a not an afterthought, but then you watch it, you're like, what the fuck's gonna happen with this? I'm really curious.
It did look like they were. It did look like a on the side stable kind of like it didn't look like they were giving any attention to it, and then all of a sudden it turned.
Yep.
Like it was very quick, and then suddenly we're like, what's going to happen? Let's work with this. I think Max Caster and Anthony Bowen's work. Well, Max Caster at least I think works better as a heel. But I also don't think he is right now. I think he's too hot.
I think him as a face could be absolutely fucking wonderful. He has that Rock vibe where I think he's got to learn how to be a face. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when Rock first turned face and he didn't know how to do it?
Yeah.
Like it was hard for him because he was such a fucking cocky asshole.
Yeah.
But I look at Max Caster and I go, yeah, I think this will be okay. I think they're going to be great, and I just want to hear him scream "Scissor me, daddy ass" again. That's my favorite thing in the world.
And to your point, that would make sense that they would turn on daddy ass.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
I think you're right. I thought it was going to be the other way around, but you make a very good point that it would make more sense for them to turn on him.
They're really dislikable.
They are.
And that's great.
Yeah, they are.
They remind you don't. I don't know if you remember Billy Gunn when he was Rockabilly, and then he went with the Road Dogg, and when they were first the New Age Outlaws. Mm-hmm. They were the two most unlikable pieces of shit on the TV.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
It made them when they pushed Foley and Chainsaw Charlie off the fucking stage in the dumpster, and then they were like trying to apologize, but then at the same time they would stop and then they would celebrate. They'd be like, "Oh no, are we in trouble?" It was really funny. It was just so perfect, so fucking perfect. So I'm hopeful for that. Mm-hmm. And I guess a big thing is that I see more direction with what AEW is doing, than what with WWE is necessarily doing. And Jon Moxley versus CM Punk as a main event on a pay-per-view is going to be insane.
I'm going to be honest with you right now. I did not give two shits about that match until this week.
No.
Because I knew it was going to come, and I was like, I don't care. I don't want to see Moxley and Punk. But they've built up Moxley perfectly with the interim title, and he's like, this is not the interim title. This is my fucking title. And he's beating the hell out of people. He's beating the hell out of Jericho. He's making everybody bleed. And then CM Punk comes back. And that moment in that ring, I was like, I want to watch this now.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing.
It was done so fucking well. And you just watch it and you go, "Ooh, this is good." Like I was worried. Their last pay-per-view, not Forbidden Door, the one before that, the build for that was very strange.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. Mm-hmm. And now this build, it's like, it's taking shape really quick, and you're just kind of going, "Ooh, there's some shit I want to see here." Yeah. So I feel like they're kind of getting back on track. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not that they were ever necessarily off track, but they just, because even in the Attitude Era, when we remember that, and that's only 3 years. That's what we forget.
Yeah.
That was 3 fucking years. And we go back and we act like everything on that was so amazing. And then you go back and watch one of those shows and you're just like, wow, that sucked. That sucked. Well, it sucked with Steve Austin in it, so I didn't care as much.
It wasn't good. Well, but that's the thing. It was carried by, 2 guys, 3 guys? Like a handful of guys. The Rock, Steve Austin, and sometimes Triple H. For the most part, it was like a handful of guys. Undertaker.
Mankind.
It was a handful of guys who were doing amazing shit. And it was, I hate to say this, but like that wasn't Vince. Like them doing amazing stuff was not Vince. Vince knew how to promote them. Vince was smart enough at the time to like promote those guys and say, okay, put this guy on the main event.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I think I think 97 Vince McMahon. Vince is a smart enough businessman to look around and know when shit's fucked up. Mm-hmm. And when you're about to go out of business and suddenly you're like, oh fuck, what am I going to do to save this? And then you look around at the world and you go, okay, there's a few things I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at wrestling first. Okay. WCW's got the NWO. That looks like a gang. They're coming and doing all this weird shit. What's hot in the indies? Oh, ECW, huh? Well, look at what they're doing. Well, let me turn on the TV. What's popular on the TV? Oh, Jerry Springer. And I'm pushing Mabel. Okay. So maybe I need to go in a different direction.
Right.
And I'm going to loosen some of these constraints. I'm going to let this happen. Okay. And then Vince sits down and then Austin gets hot. I do think Austin got hot in spite of Vince. I don't think that's what they were trying to do.
Right.
But once he got there, I think Vince took a lot of ownership of that and was like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we need to do it, blah, blah, blah. So I think Vince gets a lot of credit because all those segments Austin and Vince were in, Vince made those. Like, Vince was in charge of those.
I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Because he's not going to, because if he says, I don't want to do that, well, okay, we're not doing that, I guess. So I think Vince deserves credit. I think the problem with Vince is he did that, and then he he just assumed after the Attitude Era ended that he needed to keep that ball rolling and keep shit going, and they got more vulgar. They got so vulgar that it was just comical and stupid, and not even comical in a good way, but like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And then it was, well, now I'm going to pull everything back and we're going to go PG.
Right.
And they had enough of a built-up fan base that it didn't fucking matter what he did. And then he signed those big TV deals. And then he was so erratic. Like, everything he did for the past 3 years, it was just erratic. Everything was erratic.
It's true.
But he's fucking 76. And he's erratic. And he remember, like, in the 1984, he changed the wrestling world.
Yeah.
In 1990, he changed the wrestling world. In 1993, he changed the wrestling world for the worst. In 97, he changed the wrestling. In 98, he changed the wrestling world time and time again. He got to a point where he didn't know what the fuck to do. And he was erratic. Because nothing was working and nothing was getting hot. Because he always had something that was at least a little bit hot. Because he had Hogan, then he had Warrior. Then we didn't have those. He had Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, which actually was pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then he stumbled into Steve Austin and The Rock. And then he got John Cena. And we could say whatever we want about John Cena, but John Cena was a fucking star.
Yeah.
Dude was amazing.
Yeah.
And he was rating. He still is. When he comes on, the TV ratings are higher. He's done it.
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered what would have happened if Rock never left. Would we have turned on him like we turned on Cena? Because I bet you we would have.
I mean, it's possible. I get the feeling that Rock would have been smart enough to say, and confident enough to say, let's listen to the fans here. Let's go with what they want.
The only thing I could think is if Rock would have stayed, they would have had nobody to work with him. They would have had nobody on his level.
Yeah, because Austin left not that long after, and he was.
And Triple H was kind of on his level, but he really wasn't. Because Rock he outgrew everybody.
He did.
Of those Attitude Era stars, he became the biggest. Inside the wrestling business, nobody was bigger than Austin. But outside of that, in the real world, The Rock was a bigger star.
Yeah.
So would he have? He made the right call. But anyways, they went from John Cena to Roman Reigns, and nothing could get that guy over, and it just absolutely fell apart. So I think he just became erratic. I think that's really what it is. And he was trying so desperately to make shit work, and nothing worked. And they couldn't build a star. They couldn't get anybody to, and anybody that started to get a little momentum, they shit on. And some of it, I think, was Vince being, like, I look at Zack Ryder. And no, you can't get over that way. You get over how I see you get over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know how to get people over. You don't. So these guys that were getting themselves over, are like, how big could AJ Styles really have been as a star? Could have been huge.
He could have. And he had the momentum, but they didn't want it.
No, they didn't want to go full bore with him because it's like, well, but he's not a WWE guy.
Yeah.
So now he's just another guy who's a good worker, Even Randy Orton, like, they never really, like, they gave him pushes and everything, but they never really went full in with Randy Orton. It was always just like,
yeah,
we're kind of in on this. We're kind of not.
He's fine. Whatever.
When we need somebody to pull up, we'll pull him up.
Mm-hmm.
I think saying Vince wasn't in charge of that, I think Vince was a very, very intelligent man, a very, very good booker. He just got old, and he didn't know when it was time to say, okay, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to reach the audience.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And
he kept hiring people that would just kiss his ass. So yeah.
You didn't say anything that I disagree with. I just my tendency is to give more weight, I guess, to the contributions of the wrestlers than to Vince. But Vince has made, like, he didn't have to get behind The Rock. He didn't have to get behind Steve Austin. He was smart enough to do that.
I think part of what Vince did, though, was he let those guys do their own thing.
Yeah. But
that was a very calculated decision he made.
Yeah.
Reading the times and kind of reading his roster.
But then once it hit like the PG era, he pulled in the reins. Like, people weren't allowed to get over the way they wanted to get over. And
but that's like it was in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. It's the same way.
Yeah, but that doesn't fly anymore.
No.
I mean, at the time it did, because he was the only game in town. He went back in
time.
Yeah.
He literally went back in time. That's all he did. He was trying to rehash what he did and thinking it would work again.
That's true.
So he needed to go, and that's pretty fucking clear right now.
Yes.
Which is amazing, because the guy is professional wrestling, and he can easily say that for everything he did. But again, I want to see what happens in 5 months.
Yeah, I want to see what they do with the stars that they have, because they have stars. They have low-key stars that have not been given the chance to do what they can do. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Asuka. Like, these are names of people who have been slept on by WWE, and give them a chance. Like, Asuka's amazing. Shinsuke is amazing. Like, just give them a chance. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. And I think that's what they're gonna. I hope that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
It seems to be, he's got a lot of bringing Karrion Kross back. That was a big one.
It was smart.
It was genius. Now you got to get Bray. You got to bring Bray back. You got to let Bray do his thing, because I think that could be something that me personally would go, okay, now I want to watch.
Yeah.
Solely for Bray Wyatt, because we need a guy like that. Like, they have a lot of good talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ciampa, I really like Ciampa, and I think Gargano's going to come back too. I don't think there's any way in hell Gargano doesn't come back.
I mean, I hope you're wrong, but you're probably right.
Well, why would he not? Triple H, he's a Triple H guy.
That's true.
Go back, and we're going to bring in, him and Ciampa fucking put him on a feud on Raw.
Yeah.
Who cares if you've already seen it? Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
It's it's on a bigger stage. You can give it more importance. You know what I mean?
I feel like those two also probably have a lot of ideas and different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first time, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, and we're talking about WWE, and there's a level of excitement. Okay,
yeah.
We haven't had any level of excitement. It's always been, oh my fucking god, do you know what they did now? Or is this a porn star or an NXT 2.0 wrestler? Like, they have had nothing positive.
I did comment this morning about how I just finished Dynamite, and I was like, I don't know when this is going to happen, but I feel like I'm going to have to start watching WWE, because it sounds like it's starting to pick up. And I did not think I would be saying that, even in the last year. I did not think I would be saying that at this point.
No, and that's kind of the feeling that I have too. Like, I'm going to have to start. I'm not watching Raw for 3 hours. I'm not doing it.
No.
And I'm not watching SmackDown. It's like, I'm not doing it.
Trips?
I'll watch pieces.
Yeah.
But I'll try to actually figure out what's going on. Whereas opposed to right now, I just kind of, if I hear something, I'm like, oh, or if I, something like that, or if there's a good match, I'll try to turn it on. Or if something really stupid happens. But it has been that company has been such a clusterfuck for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the pandemic just brought out how fucking awful this company was. Especially when the other company you're going against clearly is not, AEW is not on their level.
No.
They're not.
No.
But they managed to, like, put out a product that was, like, functional and successful and watchable. And I remember looking forward to that more during that pandemic than anything else. Because, like, we had nothing.
Yeah.
The world was nothing for a long period of time. And then suddenly I'm watching this wrestling show and I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. This show is amazing. This is what professional wrestling is. And then you watch Raw, because I had time, so I watched Raw and I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible. And there was like little subtleties. They didn't do anything that different.
Yeah.
Except WWE like piped in fan noise. They piped in nothing. So that one WrestleMania you watch, there's like no sound, and it's just like, oh my god, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then they piped in fan noise, which okay, smart, but like, then they had the fan screens and shit, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so awful. What the fuck? This isn't even fucking wrestling. What is this shit?
I mean, it's clever, but when you realize that it's not working, then you need to stop.
I watched it with my girlfriend. She's she started watching wrestling the first episode of Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
Because she came over that night to hang out with me, and I was not going to not watch Dynamite. And she's like, what is this? I'm like, it's professional wrestling. She's like, oh, and then we watched it. And she's like, so this is professional wrestling? I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's actually kind of cool, blah, blah, blah. And then we watched that for like 3-4 weeks. Then there was a WWE pay-per-view. And she's like, oh, I'll come watch it with you. And she watches it, and she's like, this sucks. She's like, what is this? It's so generic and like whitewashed, and everything is, every match feels the same. And like, I think that's going away. I think that's a really big WWE problem. That's not an AEW problem because you don't know what the fuck you're going to get watching AEW, which is great.
Even from the same wrestler. Like, fuck, look at Chris Jericho. He has that match with Moxley, 3 weeks before that, he has a match with, no, it was the week before. The fuck did he fight? Yuta. Completely different match. Or you look at him as the Painmaker against Eddie Kingston. Completely different match. And some of that is Jericho, right? But like, if you look at, there are certain guys that each match that they do, depending on the opponent they have, it's going to be completely different. And Shawn Michaels could do that. Not many guys can do that, or not many guys could do that. Now there's a lot. Like there's Bryan Danielson who can do that. I think Jericho can do that. Moxley can do that to some extent.
Ric Flair can't. Ric Flair had the same match with everybody.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
Except
WWE is doing that.
His last match was. Ooh.
I heard he passed out 3 times from dehydration, or 2 times.
It was only twice.
Sorry, don't sue me, Niche.
Niche, I like Niche.
Niche.
I just. The thing is, you always talk about the WWE style.
Yeah.
And it's to work a match a certain way, and then everybody's working the same match, same way. And that wasn't the Attitude Era either. The Attitude Era had a lot of different things going on.
Right.
You could have a Kurt Angle match that was technical against like an Eddie Guerrero. I wanted to say somebody else's name, but we're not going to say his name. You know exactly who I was going to say. But like, you could have had a match with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could have had a hardcore match with fucking Al Snow and Raven.
Yeah.
You had all those possible. Then you could, like, an Austin Rock match was a 5-star match, but it wasn't a technical classic. It was just a psychological masterpiece. Like, you had all these different things. And then you could throw Mick Foley off the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Like, you had all these different things, and they haven't done that for so long.
No, they haven't. I remember listening to an interview with Rob Van Dam, and he was like, they brought me into WWE, and I think this was before he was actually signed like long term. It was when they were scouting him just before ECW invaded the first time, and he was like, they want me to like conform to this match, but if you ever watch like an RVD match in ECW, it's like 20-25 minutes, and like a third of it is just him showboating. And that was his match. Like that, he did that really, really well. And WWE didn't want any of that. Like his matches were amazing. Like if you watch Jerry Lynn, him versus Jerry Lynn is those, every single one of them is an incredible match. But you would never see a match like that in WWE because they wanted RVD to work a certain style. They wanted Jerry Lynn to work their style, not ECW.
Could you imagine if AEW came around in 2004 and we got like a Jerry Lynn, we got a Rob Van Dam, we got some of those guys that really got suckered in, like from the bullshit of like how WCW and WWF essentially were trying to do the same product.
Yeah.
And ECW was there and it went away. And ECW, let's be honest, was not the most functional thing, like financially.
Mm-mm.
If Tony Khan would have got his money in 2004, which would have been, he would have been a lot younger, but it wouldn't matter. But like, if he would have gotten that money then, and he would have made AEW then, and he would have got Van Dam and Jerry Lynn and all these guys, what would happen? Because we're looking at it now, and we're getting like the Young Bucks, dude. They never would have went to WWE.
Mm-mm.
They're fucking amazing. But we're getting these guys that never had that would not fit the WWE style, just like Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's never going to WWE because they won't do what he needs now, maybe, but with Triple H. But even then, I just don't think he's going to do it. But like you look at these guys and you kind of go, shit. If you go back to 2004 and you look at this, you look at the state of the wrestling business in 04, what you had was you had a bunch of guys our age that were like coming of age, like 2021 in 04, that were humongous wrestling fans that studied it, lived it, died it, that were looking to start plying their trade. Okay. If they would have went there, what would have happened? Because if I had a choice between watching what WWE was in 2004 or what AEW like could have been in 2004, like holy fuck, like, that would have been amazing. A bunch of wrestling fans like getting together doing this shit, like that would have been amazing. You know, like because you think of the guys you would have had there. You would have had Van Damme. You would have had like a Kevin Owens would have went there. Sami Zayn. Those guys all would have went there. Yeah. That's what they would have been. And like TNA was never viable because TNA was trying to be. They were trying to be WWE too. They were trying to just take over where WCW left off. And I think that's part of the AEW success right now is that they're different.
Yeah,
I really think that they're different. So
when they're also, I don't know if it's that they're different or if it's that they're. I mean, they certainly are different. But if you look at like the product that Impact or ROH or for some reason, those are the only two companies I remember.
Money,
but like
money's
that's the thing. Like they have a platform that allows guys like, for example, Nick Gage. Nick Gage is never going to be on WWE, but they gave him a platform on AEW. Now, how many times is he going to be on AEW? I don't know. Probably not very many. But like he's a bigger name because he was put on AEW, and more people learned about Nick Gage through AEW and maybe put eyes on GCW. Like they are giving a platform to guys who wouldn't get a platform otherwise.
Yeah. And I think Tony Khan loves the business.
Yes.
And he loves every aspect of the business, and he understands that, hey, if I give GCW a rub, it's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
If I give ROH, before if I would have given them a rub, it's fine. If I give Impact a rub, it's fine. Like these companies are,
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this now too: the health of this industry for the past 30 years has been all on WWE.
Mm-hmm.
It's been all about what they do, and right now I think the past 3-4 years it has been a healthy industry in spite of WWE. Okay, like they are not the focal point of it. They haven't been real healthy. They've been hemorrhaging viewers. They've been terrible to watch. They're alienating their fans. Now they're functional. What's going to happen to the whole industry as a whole? Because they're functional. They're not good. They're functional.
Yeah.
Can they get good? Hell yeah. A couple of things here, a couple of things there. I mean, Cody Rhodes coming back. Cody Rhodes winning the belt at WrestleMania is going to be a huge moment. They don't have a choice. They have to do that. Like, I don't just, win the Rumble, win the belt, go. But like them getting function, it's so good for the business. So everybody else needs to just kind of be like, okay, like you said, stay in your lane, focus on what you're doing. Don't start doing too much. Don't have GCW suddenly run 3 times the amount of shows and try to run like a huge 16,000 seat arena. And we're going to do this. You know what you are. Do what you're doing. Keep growing the way you're growing. So I think that's really important. It's kind of what killed ECW.
I think that's what killed. Honestly, I think that's the thing that killed WCW as well, is that they were trying to compete with WWE in a way that they just couldn't. They just couldn't.
They did, though.
I mean, WCW did for a while, but like ECW never had that opportunity. And I think had ECW just said, you know what, we're happy with what we have, let's just stick with it, which they couldn't. Their finances were shit, but I don't know. I think diversity of product is a big thing, and I think that's why a lot of people liked ECW back in the day. And now you have this whole swath of options in the industry.
GCW interests me because I didn't know enough about it till I watched it. Then I watched it, and I just assumed that this was going to be a modern day ECW, and they're just trying to be what ECW was. Then I watched it, I was like, huh, they're their own thing.
They are. Yeah.
They're their own thing.
Yeah.
And they have a hell of a following, but like you watch their show and like it's got a lot of ECW vibe. It really does. It can't not.
Yeah.
But like you aren't expecting this perfectly polished product. You're expecting a little rough around the edges. And you watch it and it's just like I'm sitting here, I'm watching the show, and my response to it is, holy fuck, that looks like a lot of fun. I would love to go there and watch that show.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Which was the appeal of ECW, I think.
Yeah.
Also.
Yep, and I do think that was the appeal of ECW. So, and they're doing their thing. Cardona in GCW is also perfect. Like, Matt Cardona is
just like, he's living his best life, man.
Does he get rehired by WWE?
No. Maybe. I mean, they might pursue him, but why? Why? Maybe in a few years when he's a little bit more broken, but like right now he is living his best life.
If he could walk into WWE with his wife as Matt fucking Cardona, and they just said, "Come on in and do your fucking thing," and they put him on TV as was, holy fuck. He would be the biggest heel in the business. He already kind of is.
Yeah.
But I think it'd have to be there. Like if you put him in AEW, I don't think that character plays as well in AEW as it would in WWE. If that makes sense. I think that's the audience.
I think so, maybe.
Because that WWE audience is still trained, and they're still. So if he came in and did his thing, like they'd be like, "What a fucking asshole!" Like I could see that really working. I could really see that working.
And then, there would be those fans that would be like, "What happened to Zack Ryder? We used to love Zack Ryder."
But that seems to be like that hardcore WWE fan. They can't do anything wrong. It's like a fucking cult, bud. It's like a cult.
To some extent, yeah. I read a thing on so like Squared Circle subreddit on tends to be pretty objective when it comes to AEW. And so I wandered into another subreddit. I don't remember which one. And they were commenting on the spot that Sammy Guevara did with Dante Martin, where he did, I don't remember, is it the Guevara cutter or something? Like he jumps off the ropes, flies backwards, and gives the guy a cutter. And Dante had landed and was not ready for it, and his knee went a funky direction. And there were literally like 5 or 6 comments about how this is why WWE guys aren't allowed to do this shit because it's dangerous and he got injured and this was so stupid. And
I want to hear all the time too. Yeah.
Literally the next week I saw Dante Martin. I was like, he's fine. He's doing just fine. Like, and I appreciate like if you're gonna tell me that looks ridiculous because nobody would do that in a real fight, fine. If you want to say it, but that's not why you watch wrestling. You don't watch wrestling.
Come on for that one. That's what I mean. That would never happen in a real fight. Yeah, I'd never give somebody a clothesline in a real fight either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? That's
not what you watch wrestling for. If that's what you watch wrestling for, you should, consider UFC. It's not WWE.
Watch UFC. Like, what the fuck? That wouldn't hurt in a real fight, but if Sid Vicious gave you a powerbomb in a real fight, you'd How the fuck did that? Like, how the fuck? Oh, you kicked me in the gut. Let me bend over and finish you.
Another thing. Now that you said that, I was reading a Mick Foley post where he was like, "Why does everybody bend over to try and do the backdrop? Nobody ever tries to do a backdrop when they throw him into the ropes, and then they bend over to do the backdrop. The guy always kicks him in the face. Why is everybody doing the backdrop?
Don't do the fucking backdrop." I don't know. There's some toxic. There's toxic fans everywhere, but WWE fans right now I think they feel threatened.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't want WWE to be bad. Yeah. I really don't.
Yeah, neither do I.
I just had a conversation with somebody else the other day because I was talking about, like, if I went back 15 years and it was August, I would be excited for SummerSlam and I would be excited for the new Madden game. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't give 2 fucks about SummerSlam and Madden sucks. The fuck happened to my life? Am I just a bitter old fuck now or what? You know what I mean? Like,
it's possible.
But it's bad. Everything got bad. Like you know, and I would love to see them come back and be successful. But at the same time, when they were most successful, they had a functional company across from them that was also successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is key. When they were by themselves, it became this just fucking black hole of we can do whatever the fuck we want, and it doesn't matter, and we're gonna make our money. And you don't want to watch, but then you're not watching wrestling. That doesn't exist anymore, which is great.
Yeah.
Because you think about the million people or so every week that watch AEW would have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we have something.
God, yes.
So
it is the thing that I got back into wrestling, and I love it.
Yeah, because it's just, I got so burned by WWE. It's so just fucking unbelievably bad.
I think that toxicity comes from, like, I mean, this was true in gaming as well in the 90s, but like the late 90s, early aughts, when they overtook WCW, it was a war. That's what they called it. They called it the Monday Night Wars. And it wasn't just WWE. You know, WCW participated in that as well. But, like, WWE won. And so now wrestling fans want WWE to win all the time.
Yeah.
And not all WWE fans are like that. But there's that toxic sub-base that, like, we want AEW to fail because, you know, WWE is the best.
It's an interesting point, because when I was a little kid, I used to watch all wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I watched WCW was on Saturday night and Sunday night. They had a show on. I watched those every week. They had Power Hour in the morning on the weekend. I watched all that. I'd watch Raw. I watched whatever I could on the weekend for WWE. And then Nitro came along, and I was sitting there like, what the fuck? They're on the same time? What the fuck am I going to do? You know, and I watched the first Nitro because WWE was not on that night, which was genius. It was a genius move. And I remember those first probably 9 months of that, I flipped back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And on one channel, you had like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart as world champion having these matches, and on the other channel, you had Hulk Hogan fighting the Dungeon of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guess which one I picked.
I picked Dungeon of Doom, obviously.
I picked Shawn Michaels. I was just, and I was a huge Shawn Michaels mark. I still love Shawn Michaels, but I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this, and I started watching Raw, and Hogan turned, and I remember that. I remember Michaels won the belt, and I was all hardcore WWF. Like, I watched WWF. That was a show I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when Hogan turned, I watched Nitro. I watched the first hour, and then I went to WWF. And everybody around me was like, "Man, did you see Nitro?" I'm like, "No, I watched Raw." Why would you watch Raw? And I was a WWE guy, like straight through, you know. And I remember Austin won the King of the Ring, and Austin got hot, and like that build for him through '97. I just remember watching it, and I'd go to school at the old Horace Mann there, and everybody that wasn't a real wrestling fan, the people that just kind of came on because like something new was happening, that didn't know that much about wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
At least the way I looked at it, because, you know, fuck you, I know more than you do. But they were all like, they would talk about Nitro and Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sitting there like, have you fucking guys heard of Steve Austin? Because that guy's doing some shit on the other channel that's pretty fucking sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Austin won the fucking belt, then all of a sudden it's, man, did you see Steve? It's like, yeah, I've been watching him for a fucking year. So like, if you're talking like, I honestly didn't watch much Nitro. So if you're talking like that Homer feeling, like, of all people, I should have that.
Yeah. And
I should be like, fuck AEW, I'm watching WWE, and I don't.
Yeah.
And I had it with TNA, I had it. But that was more of, I'm not a big Jeff Jarrett fan.
Yeah.
Just, you know, so.
I tried. I really tried with TNA. And they're doing better stuff now, but I think that's because they're more focused on wrestling instead of, you know, TNA was more focused on beating WWE. Like, you're not going to do that. I'm sorry.
No. When the reality of the situation is the best result for everyone would be both of them are successful.
or all of them. I mean,
Yeah, like,
all
well,
of
I'm
them.
talking just the big two.
Right.
But even GCW and Impact and ROH, like, in New Japan, let's get them all. Let's make everybody kind of have a spot. Let's grow.
Oh, but that's. I've said this before. I think that in the same way that you have just said that Tony Khan can give the rub to GCW or ROH when that was still an option, when he didn't own it. Like, that doesn't hurt him. Triple H should see the same thing in his. Maybe not Triple H so much as Stephanie. I think Triple H understands that. I don't know that the executives understand that in the same way. Whether that's Stephanie or whether that's the USA executives, I don't know. But you have this opportunity. Like, for example, WWE allowed Christian to go wrestle on Impact. And I
don't think he wrestled. I thought he went there to be a Hall of Fame entrant because they had something to do with Ric Flair.
No, he had like one match with I don't remember the exact story, but he was allowed to go to Impact. And I think part of that was
for one night.
Yeah, I think part of that was just WWE didn't care, like they weren't interested in his thing. But like that didn't hurt WWE at all. So like, why not do that more often? Like, will they? I hope they do, but I think AEW is more likely to do it than WWE.
Definitely benefits AEW more, but AEW is also willing to take like Mance Warner, a guy who's not under contract but works for somebody else, and bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, and have him do a spot. And I think WWE's carved out such a spot for themselves in the business that they've kind of transcended it into their own thing.
Yeah,
they don't, and even I'm curious to see what Triple H does.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see them working with anybody else. I just can't see it, and that's part of that is because they never have.
Yeah.
And when they have, there's been a really logical reason that they did it, or it benefited them and not the other person. Like the NWA coming in the late 90s, they were just trying to emulate the NWO feud. That's all they were trying to do. And then we get the NWA title, and we could say, haha, we have your title here because you guys were the NWA. So, or like when ECW came in, that's the same thing. This is going to benefit us because it's going to give us some wild shit on our TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that part of that was a trial of, let's see what happens if we do this one night. Because that was when that table was really starting to turn. So I just can't see them. I could see like NXT getting involved with somebody, but like I can't see them doing anything with GCW or Impact. Like I can't see them doing that.
In the short term, I absolutely 100% agree with you. In the long term, I have some doubts because it was Triple H. It was Triple H's show when NXT brought in Jushin Liger. Yeah, and I feel like they've brought in other guys in this moment.
The only piece of that though is that Jushin Liger is from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That behooves us, not anybody else. That's good for us. Doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. And I think that's kind of the big thing. I think if it's something they can do to benefit themselves, they'll do it and to gain a little bit of an internet cred and all that and get an audience pop. But like, I'm not, they're not going to do like an Impact invasion of Raw.
No, and they shouldn't. That shit has been played.
And they're not going to do, oh, we'll promote a pay-per-view with AEW. Like, they're not fucking doing that.
No.
So
you can't do that. I don't think. I think there are special instances, like Forbidden Door was a perfect example. But
they have a working. Those two companies have a working relationship.
I think
but then I look and I go like, are they gonna? What are they gonna do? They might pull somebody in that works for somebody else.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna pull an AEW guy in because it doesn't do them any favors. I can't see them doing it, even if it's like a Chris Jericho.
I could. I don't know if they will.
We also have to remember that Triple H played a lot of backstage politics, and there's a lot of people that he doesn't like, and Chris Jericho's one of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
And CM Punk is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think curious to see. Yeah. Like I said, WWE is functional for the first time in a long time. Let's see what happens.
I have to laugh every single time you say that because it's
But
true.
it's true.
It's super true. Yeah.
They haven't done anything groundbreaking. They haven't done anything wild. They haven't done anything to make me go, oh my god, look, they're so much better. It's just, they're functional. They have run functional storylines for 3 weeks. Yay.
Well done, Trips. We're happy for you.
Orange Cassidy says thumbs up. Actually, he probably would say whatever.
So, fine.
8:30, bud. We got to cut this thing off.
We do. This has been Bud Robinson, and Town has joined me. We are doing the BREWDCAST. That's what we just did. And bye.
Commercial break.